Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we are doing another light novel review. Now, today's light novel review is going to be covering That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. This is written by Fuse, I guess. I'm not really sure how to say that. And illustrated by Mitz Vaughn. This is published by Yen Press, as you guys can see right there. Or this is the light novel publisher, Yen On, but it's the same company. And the demographic of the manga is shonen, so we'll say that this is shonen as well. Now, the genres here are isekai and fantasy. And you can say that it's epic fantasy, but it's more akin to video games than it really is like traditional epic fantasy like Lord of the Rings. And you could also say that this is a gamelet story, since it does have skills, leveling, and all of that type of VR, MMO type tropes. It does have an adaptation. It has both a manga and an anime, and I have watched some of the anime, mostly what is covered in this volume, and it's pretty good so far. I think it does have a drop in quality later on, but I can't really say with any certainty since I haven't watched it. I don't know anything about the manga either, but it is available also from Yen Press, if I remember correctly, so you can read it that way. Now, the premise here is that our main character, a 37-year-old man, gets stabbed to death, which is great. It's not a truck, which is awesome, and gets reincarnated as a slime, which is really odd. I don't understand why it was that he was reincarnated as a slime. I think it has to do with all of the things that he was thinking about as he died, and that affected how he changed. And basically ends up being really overpowered. Due to that overpoweredness, he ends up being the ruler of a little goblin village, and then what ensues is basically a kingdom building story, which is really awesome. So, the plotline here is pretty light story-wise. It's very easy. It's basically, okay, he got reincarnated, he has to move into this new world and understand how it works, and in order to do that, he has to meet people. But he's a slime, so he has to learn how to be a slime first. He does that, and he realizes that he's really overpowered and he has really all of these amazing abilities, and he basically absorbs everything that he can. Eventually, he meets this person, and then he goes on his journey to find people. Turns out that he is really overpowered, and he knows he has a lot of extra powers, but he doesn't know that he's overpowered, like, compared to everyone else. So he meets these goblins, they take him in, they realize that he's really powerful, and he becomes the ruler. After that, there's basically a battle, and then a trip to a kingdom, and that's basically the end of the story. The majority of the plotline is based around gathering resources and developing a semblance of culture with the goblins, which is cool. I really like it. This is a very introductory level novel, so you won't get anything all that amazing out of it, but it is pretty cool. Now, the characters here are pretty good. There's Veldora, which is this giant dragon character, which you guys can see right there. And then Rimuru is our main character. He's really funny, he's snappy, and he has a really sassy, like, voice. And he has a really interesting abilities. He has fire resistance, lightning resistance, absorption, which is like Kirby, and, you know, a huge, crazy amount of abilities that basically no one else has that really come in handy. And yeah, everyone else, character-wise, is pretty basic. There's the wolf Ranga, and then Rigurd, the goblin lord, or the goblin leader, and then Rigurd, I don't know, like, basically, there's a bunch of other goblins, and they all have basically the same name, more or less. There's also Gopta, which is another goblin, who I kind of enjoy his character a lot because it's really funny. He's kind of really dumb, but also extremely lucky, and I think that's funny. And we have a group of human adventurers, but none of them really are all that important or interesting. They just kind of function as a way to move the story along. Now, the world building here is actually the best part of the novel. It's very large scale. It paints an amazing picture of a fantasy world with, you know, leveling and skills and abilities and this kind of like video game style like power system. And I like it a lot. I feel that light novels use the video game style power systems as a crutch in order to make their, like, the way they make magic work easier, which is understandable, and I agree that it's a good technique, but it does get stale after, you know, you read 20 light novels. However, that's not really the case here, because although it is relatively important to know what skills he's using, it doesn't really end up mattering all that much. What matters in terms of the world building is really the fact that humans are the top of the food chain. There's demon lords and demons, and then there's a bunch of different types of creatures, and they're divided into types of monsters, named monsters versus natural monsters, and then humans, and then, you know, there's a huge expansive kind of hierarchical system. There's also this thing called naming, which is basically forcing an evolution of a creature when a stronger creature gives it a name, which is very interesting. I kind of really enjoy that a lot. It's reminiscent of Words of Power, but it's not like that. So it's kind of cool. What I really enjoyed was the kingdom building aspect. It's, okay, I have these powers, and I don't want to be evil, nor do I want to be a hero. What do I do with them? The answer was nothing, but along the way, he ends up becoming the leader of this monster, or of these monsters. And using his knowledge of, you know, modern day Japan, he helps them create a semblance of society. And I found that to be amazing. I liked it a lot. And I really enjoyed how in-depth he went into doing all of these things for the goblins, which is really cool. The different types of beasts and animals that show up in monsters are really cool as well. I mean, besides dragons and goblins, we have giant dire wolves. We have dwarves, which are really cool. Humans, obviously. Dragons. There was giant snakes, giant spiders. There's so much cool stuff that I really liked. So yeah, world building was freaking awesome. Now the art here, it's good, but it's not really my favorite. It doesn't really make the characters look that great. Like, it looks really artistic. I'm not going to say it doesn't. And I really enjoy it as a kind of like painting, I guess. But as a way to show the characters, I don't think it really works that well. Especially when I'm talking about humanoids. Here, if you guys can see that. I don't really like how that looks, because it's really sketchy and there's no sharp lines and no clear like outlines. And so to me, it feels a little bit like it's missing something, like it hasn't been finished, and I don't necessarily like that. However, it looks really nice for the creatures and animals and stuff. So there's a bit of a give and take there. It's just not my artistic preference, so that's what it is there. Fan service wise, there's really no fan service. There's like hints of it here and there, and I guess there is an image where like the character is naked, but the character is a slime, so there's no like anything there that would really be like titillating or exciting or anything. So there's really no fan service. And yeah. So that's basically it on that. I rate this a 4 out of 5. Basically, it was really good, but nothing about it really blew my socks off. Now, this is probably because I already knew what most of this volume, you know, encompassed. And so I wasn't really surprised by anything. If this was a completely blind read, I would have probably liked it a lot more. So that's kind of on me. But yeah, there wasn't really anything that blew my socks off. But there wasn't anything I could really complain about that really hurt the book at all. In terms of like what's written. So yeah, that's basically it for me on that. I do recommend this title. I think the story is really interesting. Or actually, the world building is really interesting. The story is good enough, but it's basically just to develop the world building. Similar titles, Their Werewolf comes to mind. Overlord comes to mind. And in terms of world building, I don't really know that anything really matches it. But yeah, that's basically it on that. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I really appreciate everyone that watches and everyone that comments. So please help me out with that. Thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.